Welcome back to Piercing Pop Culture. My name is Kim, your resident fangirl for the weird, wacky, and wonderful things your algorithm likes to forget about. Today, we're stepping away from the historical deep dives for a bit of a mini-sode. Welcome to the Vintage Video Vault. This will be an ongoing, more review-based series of episodes as I plunge into the darkest corners of the streaming world. I'm hoping to be coming at you with these at least weekly. Now, let's get to the good stuff. I take shameful delight in two particular subgenres. One isn't relevant today. That's airplane and trouble films. The other, the animal attack disaster film. That's the good stuff today, baby. That's right, kids. We're talking about frogs.
Suppose nature gave a war, and everybody came. The snakes, the birds, the lizards and frogs. And suppose that the polluters, the species on Earth called man, were the enemy in that war.
I still believe man is master of the world.
And then, suppose that the human race lost. Ray Milland, Sam Elliott, Joan Van Ark, Adam Rourke, Judy Pace.
First of all, we're gonna have to try to find out our Stuart and Michael. Be very honest with you. I don't think we will. Not alive, anyway.
Keep talking, Peggy, because you're the only one making any sense around here.
But whether we find them or not, we've got to get off this damn island. All of us, now!
And I am asking to get the hell out of here with someone or by myself.
This was when I'd heard the name, and I had some preconceived notions. But honestly, I had no idea what I was walking into here. The IMDb synopsis reads like this. A group of helpless victims celebrate a birthday on an island estate crawling with killer amphibians, birds, insects, and reptiles. Now listen to this cast. Ray Milland, Sam Elliott, Joan Van Ark, Adam Rourke and Judy Pace co-star in the film. George McCowan directs Frogs from a script by Robert Hutchinson and Robert Blees. So this film follows in a long line of animals attack movies that filled the 1970s, even before Jaws redefined the genre in 1975. With all that being said, though, Frogs, for much of its runtime anyway, isn't fully invested in its animals attack roots. For the first hour or so, it's actually far closer to a soap opera. If you like your characters with a little mess, this might be a bit up your alley. Frogs is an examination of just how unlikable rich people can be. It becomes all the more noticeable due to the fact we spend most of the film watching the action through the eyes of a pre-most things Sam Elliott. It probably isn't a surprise for most to hear that the ultimate Western working man doesn't take kindly to the shallow, idle rich. His judgment is vivid and often relatable. With all that being said, though, unless you can wrap your head around this messy 1970s-era soap plotline, I'm not sure there's enough animal material to make this one feel like it has mass appeal. I don't think I'm spoiling anything when I mention that the brunt of the craziness doesn't happen until more than an hour into the film. Once things finally get to the reptile horror, I found myself fascinated with how everything played out. I have a snake thing.
Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?
There's plenty of snakes and other things that creep and crawl scattered throughout this film. Yet Frog suffers from not only a red shirt, but also travelogue syndrome. Let's break that down. The Trekkies among us will know red shirt syndrome. This happens when a movie pads their cast unnecessarily to, let's say, increase the body count. Travelogue syndrome, meanwhile, happens when a movie struggles to integrate their B-roll and stock footage in with the main unit work. The primary action starts to feel like it's in a completely different location than the stock footage. You see the animal, you cut to the actors looking horrified, you cut back to the animal, perhaps you cut back to a wide shot of a lush tropical location. You get the idea. These two things have the overall effect of drastically decreasing the tension. For a long time, you know who's going to die. You can predict it, and at the same time, it's harder to increase the stakes. It's more difficult to up the tension because it's sometimes painfully clear that the actors aren't actually facing any peril. Are they even in the same room as the frogs? It's hard to say. Even with all of this, though, I was decidedly creeped out. The creature work here is impressive. Snakes in water always get me a little edgy. This leads to a last 20 minutes that is hopping, pun intended. Those who like the 1970s disaster and TV movie cast could, I think, vibe with this one. It brings together a random group of performers who represent a wide swath of Hollywood. I was pleasantly surprised here to see Adam Rourke. I've been super interested to deep dive into his work this year. It was only within the last month that I started watching The Savage Seven and Hell's Angels on Wheels, and I wasn't expecting to see him in here. I was not that prepared. Ultimately, I still want to see more from him. He's traditionally charismatic here in that quiet, kind of edgy way that he does. But aside from a fascinating scene where he regales Sam Elliott with tales of his college days, there's little substance behind his style. This is a character he plays here who peaked in college, and we find this out early. Sam Elliott, though, for me, was unrecognizable at the start. I was raised in the 1990s, and you couldn't throw a rock in the 1990s, particularly in Westerns, without hitting, you guessed it, Sam Elliott. The mustache. It is all about the mustache. But he's such a baby in this film. In fact, he's so young that his mustache hadn't even come in yet. Ultimately, as photographer Pickett Smith, Elliott serves two purposes here. He is first and foremost a figure for audience identification. We watch the story through his eyes, and aside from Joan Van Ark, who he shares an adorably tentative chemistry with, he spends the entire film simmering in his frustrated disdain for the world of the toxically wealthy. As I watched Ray Milland, all I could think about was his career progression. The Lost Weekend, Dial M for Murder, Bull Drummond Escapes, The Man with the X-Ray Eyes, The Thing with Two Heads, Frogs. Kids, Ray Milland was a trooper, and we all need to celebrate this. Through all this, though, the narrative attempts to build the drama through the first two acts in a way that feels almost separate to the Frogs narrative. This is why I use the term red shirts. There's a select group of characters who seem to exist simply to be the target of the reptile-tinged carnage. We know the reptiles aren't going to get our main characters, for 80% of the movie at least. Then we start wondering a little, and that's as close as we're getting to spoilers for this, let me do math, 53-year-old film, roughly. Have you ever wanted to watch Sam Elliott fight a toy snake? Well, this is your film, and just check that part out. When all is said and done, I wanted more from Frogs. This one was fun, and I was able to wrap my head around the soap opera-tinged messiness. However, in a film that promises animal-tinged disaster delight, it's a little light. You have to get through more than an hour before things get truly chaotic. It's an interesting one for this complex and random collection of characters, especially, as I said, pre-most things Sam Elliott, and I was glad to tick off another film in my growing 2025 Adam Rourke first-time deep dive. But outside of a few quiet moments, the actor isn't in it enough to really make much of an impact. So, on to the next film. Frogs, for those who might be so inclined, is currently streaming, as of the time of airing, on Tubi. I've said it before, and I will say it again, friends. We do not deserve Tubi. Well, that really should bring me to a close here at Piercing Pop Culture. Thank you, as always, for listening. My name is Kim. You can find me across the social medias, as well as updates on what's going on here. I spend most of my time over on Blue Sky and Instagram at kpierce624. But you can also find this podcast's companion Substack at nostalgiaqueen.substack.com, as well as my website at piercingcinema.com. Thank you so much for joining me here, and have a good one all.